Chapter 29, The Past. Although Qing's current national strength is unrivaled in the world, but the evils of the imperial government cannot be eliminated, and in the hearts of the people of the world, the biggest several treacherous ministers are the Lord Chancellor mentioned in the paragraph just now, the Consular Minister and the head of the eunuchs, Eunuch Hong, of course, in fact, that the president of the Supervisory Academy is also infamous, but Fan Xian looks at the origins of Mr. Fei Jie, so it's not good to make this person up as well. This paragraph is actually born from a joke about the political situation in Taiwan in his previous life. Fan Xian wrote it in a letter he sent to his sister one day, and it amused her to no end, and when he told it to his grandmother today, the old lady, who seemed to be confused, but was in fact extremely shrewd, really laughed her head off. After making the most powerful old lady in Tanyu Port happy, Fan Xian reported to Grandma that she was going out for a while, and Grandma rarely cared about his affairs, and had returned to her ancient-like demeanor, only giving a soft hum. After going out of the house, thinking of becoming closer to his grandmother, no matter what, Fan Xian still felt a little pleased. After all, these grandmothers to his own care. Thinking of this matter, he could not help but think of a rumor. I heard that the Fan family in Kyoto was originally a famous family, but his father, Earl Sinan's house is a very far from the side room, and the population is scarce, so it is very oppressed, so that the grandmother has just given birth to the Earl of Sinan not long ago, and to the King of Cheng's house as a general powerful family will never do the nurse. Coincidentally, the last emperor did not have an heir, so after dying young because of too much sex, the two most likely to take over the throne of the Princess Highnesses, one was assassinated by the Northern Wei assassins, the other but was assassinated by the one that had already been assassinated by the prince who had sent someone earlier. Mom, in short, after such a complicated and ridiculous process. That actually is not inconspicuous, but also very easy to lead to sit on the bleeding of the dragon chair, on top of a lifetime of prudent and self-possessed King Cheng's ass below. Makoto King peacefully do a few years of peace emperor, the time is up, to the sky, the throne was passed on to His Majesty, the whole country under the leadership of His Majesty in the western conquest of the barbarians, the northern invasion of the Northern Wei, and finally will be the world to beat the world in a mess, so that the original powerful Northern Wei fell apart into the Northern Qi and some small vassal states, and always stay out of the eastern barbarian city. Look at the emperor, is nothing more than the weight of civil and military achievements in history, now His Majesty the Emperor of the Kingdom of Qing first regardless of the civil and military achievements alone, is also considered to be the first person since the founding of the Kingdom of Qing. So there have long been group of ministers to cater to the will of the upper, petitioning His Majesty to the great Yufeng Zen, the temple to send a letter on behalf of the blessings. But for some reason, His Majesty has been insisting on not allowing the petition, and even beat a few sycophants who thought the emperor was just trying to make a name for himself, retreating to advance, and then beat his buttocks and flesh and blood flowed out of his body. The old lady in the Earl's mansion is the nanny of His Majesty the Emperor, who is decisive and powerful as the sky, but has always been hidden in the deep palace. Fan Xian some years ago has been a little puzzled by his own father, Count Sinan's secretly strength and his current official position in Kyoto has a great mismatch, actually able to let the supervisory Yuan Fei Jie to be their own teacher. But when you know that the grandmother is the emperor's nanny, these doubts were immediately solved. His own father Sananbo is somewhat similar to the previous life before the Kangxi that called Chao Yin Jiangning Weaver. Chao Yin's mother's son, it is Kangxi's nanny, so since then Chao Yin life are highly favored by Kangxi's favor, the official to Jiangning weaving, although only less than 3 small officials, but the hands of the power to hold a secret report, Kangxi's southern patrol. Chao family several times at home to receive the driver, asked the entire Jiangnan officialdom, who is not afraid of him. Even after the late Kangxi, Chao Yin was investigated for shortfalls in the treasury silver matter. Kangxi is to see in that year's love is delayed and delayed, exempted and exempted, until after the death of Chao Yin, the relationship between the sparse, Chao's family only had a bad luck. So Chao Shuaqin 18 years old into Beijing, before the Dream of the Red Chamber. It was only then that Fan Xian could have copied Dream of the Red Chamber in this other time and space. Mr. Chao, it seems that although we are in 2 places, we are really in love with one heart, and my copying of this book is also appropriate. Fan Xian thought of his own family and Chao's family being in a similar situation, and couldn't help but smile, gently flicking the envelope in his hand that held the 10th installment of the stone book, and walking out of the mansion. On top of the seaside cliff, Fan Xian closed his eyes and meditated, his body and mind advancing into a very subtle feeling, precisely because he was a passively formed materialist in his previous life. So he was able to entwine with this overbearing true chi in 2 phases in this life, and he had a dreamlike feeling somewhat similar to falling in love. Love always has both bitterness and sweetness, and the hegemonic true chi he practiced also gave him mixed joys and sorrows, and it was obvious that this hegemonic true chi made some extremely magical changes to his body, such as strength, such as reaction, but from time to time, the disorder that did not listen to the call of duty, but also put him in danger at all times. Over the years, because of 5 bamboos hammering away on the side, the true chi was much more honest, but today was a dangerous juncture because today was the last day of the hegemony scroll's cultivation. 5 bamboos stood quietly to the side, looking at Fan Xian, who was sitting cross-legged with his 5 hearts turned toward the sky, holding the unusual wooden stick in his hand without tightening his grip. As his mind moved, the true chi that had been stored in his dantian slowly flowed, and under the guidance of his extremely fine divine sense, it emanated in all directions along the meridians in his chest and abdomen, and the true chi that had disappeared backward from his chi acupoints, just as it had done over the past 10 years or so, sank into the sea like a clay ox, and could no longer be found in the snowy mountains of the Kidney Gate. However, the rest of the true chi still maintained a strong quantity, flushing his meridians, like countless small knives that had been burned hot, scraping the tender walls of those tubes. Fan Xian was trembling, cold sweat like pulp soaking out of the clothes on his body, his eyes tightly closed, his long eyelashes fluttering ceaselessly, enduring incomparable pain. Cultivating the hegemony for 12 years, even the most treacherous entrance gate was easily passed after just a sleep, and since then, there was no more effort, but he did not expect that today's break of the first volume of the gate would be so difficult to endure. True chi is still in his chest and abdomen between the meridians across, non-stop scrubbing. This kind of sharp scrubbing can make the meridians widen, so that the true chi running faster, but along with it, is a huge destructive force. The power that could widen the invisible meridians and bring pain to the divine consciousness was not something that could be so easily endured. Fortunately, 12 years of diligent cultivation had allowed Fan Xian's meridians to reach a very sturdy level of strength, so that he had not overflowed the walls of his veins with qi, resulting in unimaginably tragic consequences, and his mind's power of determination was also too much stronger than that of the average person with the help of his strange lives before and after the 2 lifetimes. It seems to have been a long time. In fact, the sunrise on the eastern sea surface is only just out of the embrace of the sea water, not long, horizontally in the distance, emitting a warm reddish glow, shining on the cliffs above, reflecting a stand and a sit 2 lonely silhouettes. The true chi traveled upwards. The grand but violent breath finally broke through the blockage of the meridians in the human body and reached the heavenly center from the period gate, like a big knife, violently cutting towards the Hall of Fame on Fan Xian's forehead. In the red sunlight, Fan Xian was struck by lightning, his head lifted up for no reason, looking at the sky above his head, his mouth wide open, but unable to make a sound.